Welcome to Sports Talk with three stupid guys. Tonight it's a bare bones ship with just Mike and I as the two stupid guys. We're joined by a really smart guy, John Evans, who has his
From
own
the
show.
X's and Y's podcast.
Thank you very much. It's great to
Welcome,
be here, guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us again. You joined us last year, I remember.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I guess we don't have a full house tonight, so I don't get to go back and forth with the Chargers guy because I am a big Raiders fan. But we'll have fun anyway.
And the other guy's a Chiefs fan, so we're missing that too.
Right, that's right.
Honestly, I think this is the first time that anyone has wore a Raiders shirt on the show. So maybe it's good that Jack's not here to see that.
I am representing.
Well, quickly, you want to talk a little about the Raiders this season, like the improvement they made?
Yeah, I mean, it got off to such an exciting start, but beating New Orleans in thrilling fashion week one. But even then, it was like, no, it's the Saints in New Orleans, but man, we sure gave up a lot of points and passing yards. And then week two comes around, and it's kind of more of the same. I mean, I guess that hanging with Atlanta now, it looks like that's a real victory for the program, even if it wasn't a victory in the win column. But we lost that one. And then, beating Tennessee and Baltimore, not exactly quality wins as far as the, upper tier competition goes. And then we lose. We kind of get humbled at home this last week to Kansas City. And yeah, the field, blah, blah, blah. Conditions were bad, rainy, wet field and all that. But it was the same field for the old chefs, and they ran roughshod over us. So you can throw the ball on us, you can run the ball on us. And the Chiefs were the kind of caliber of a defense, even without Justin Houston, that they could basically shut us down. So every team is going to throw in some clunkers, but I would say my enthusiasm is a little bit tempered at this point. I mean, to be honest, going into the season, I thought we'd added enough talent on the defensive side of the ball and had enough maturing talent on that side of the ball, like Khalil Mack, that we would be one of the league's better defenses, and we're not even close to respectable. So I think, they've made some improvements. Benching Ben Heaney was good, and we've got some improvement from Sean Smith, who was being toasted on a quarterly basis in the early games. But it's still bad, and we're just going to have to win shootouts. It's fun to watch, but it's not always going to work out that way. And wasn't even a great fantasy week for us, so it's disappointing.
Well, looking at some of the upcoming games, you got Jacksonville, Tampa, Houston. I don't think you have to worry about shootouts there.
Well, Jacksonville, yeah, that should be a good one for us. I'm hoping for a real bounce back. Amari Cooper to keep turning the ship around. He had a slow start, being overshadowed by Michael Crabtree, but that pendulum was going to swing eventually, and I think it is, and he's healthy, so that's exciting. But we expected Clive Walford to do more. It's been disappointing the way that with Latavius Murray out, we haven't had one of these, young guys, the exciting rookies, Jalen Richard or DeAndre Washington, step forward the way that a lot of Raider fans and fantasy folks really kind of expected they would behind this supposedly great offensive line. But that hasn't materialized. So at this point, as a Raider fan, I'm ready for Latavius to come back.
So what are your thoughts on the LA or the Las Vegas thing?
Well, I mean, I think that's really unfortunate for the fans of the Oakland Raiders. It's been a stadium that people could afford to bring their family to in the past, and you could, actually get into a game for less than $500, and it was nice to see, even if the facility is kind of a shithole. But Vegas, it's a small market, so I don't know how much better they're going to do economically unless they, there is that sort of, it's going to be a vacation spot for people to go and catch a game and stay the whole weekend. And that'll be fun. I'm in LA, so it makes sense. It'll be easier for me, obviously, to attend games. But and it could have been worse. I mean, the San Antonio Raiders, that feels a lot worse somehow than the Las Vegas Raiders because of the sort of outlaw, swashbuckling mystique that I think you can still coax out of Sin City.
So the next topic, you want to bring up the Miami Dolphins' surprising victory over Pittsburgh in that 204 rushing yard game by Jay Ajayi.
Yes, Jay Ajayi. All right, it's gonna win me some champagne.
The big show topic this year on X's and Y's.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it every week. Yeah, I have a bet with my co-host Liz Loza on the X's and Y's podcast that I took Jay Ajayi and she took Isaiah Crowell. And at the time, I think Crowell had already, debuted hot, and Ajayi was, I think it was when Arian Foster had just gone down. So Ajayi hadn't even really seen the field. He hadn't even been on the team plane, I think, the week before. But rashly.
He was mad about losing his job, and they kept him home.
That's right. So I rashly made this bet, but suddenly it looks a lot better now. It's funny. Pittsburgh Steelers fans would tell you, of course we lost that game, because it just seems like it's their pattern. They lost to the Bucs, I think, on a last-second field goal a couple of years ago. I recall it being a similarly shocking situation, and maybe it's Florida, maybe it's just getting away from Heinz Field, but Ben Roethlisberger and Drew Brees, they're the standard bearers now for those guys who home and away splits are just night and day. And it's really a shame that Big Ben went down. I also started Sammy Coates in one of my leagues, and sitting there with a goose egg while Golden Tate goes off, and he was on the waiver wire too, and I almost popped him right into my lineup. So these are the vagaries and the agonies of fantasy football, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I couldn't tell, for the Pittsburgh defenders, if they were having trouble with the heat down there or if they went partying the night before in Miami.
Maybe both.
One of the guys started throwing up in the end zone.
That's right. Someone sent me that.
ESPN had fun playing that over and over, I think every 15 minutes.
Yeah, they hadn't given up. I think they were averaging something like 60 or 70 rushing yards per game until this week, and then the wheels just completely fell off the Steelers' run defense. So it's probably some combination of that. I mean, they do seem to kind of have a swagger that, if we just show up, we're going to win because we have all this talent and we're the Steelers and we've got attitude, and, execution isn't always there. That's for sure.
And then you want to talk about the Colts, Matt? And your
do I want to talk about the Colts?
The fun, amazing game you had?
Yeah. That was really that was awful, and I knew that it was going to happen that way. At some point, I was like, okay, they're going to come back. It's going to be a tie score. Hopefully, the Colts can get the field goal first. And when it went into overtime, I was like, that's it. They're going to get the ball. They won't be able to travel down. And the Texans are going to slice up the Colts D like most teams have all season long. It's just been frustrating to watch for sure, especially because they've been in some close games. So it's I feel like their record should be more 3-3. But
then you remember that Pagano's the coach.
There is that. So there's the meme going around with Peyton Manning that says needs a job, and then it shows Luck and it says needs a coach. So I like that one. I follow NFL memes on Facebook, so there's some really great stuff. Sometimes it cuts both ways though, because you're like, ooh, that one still stings because today's the anniversary of the Colts' dumbest play in history. That happened last year. I think it's this year. Last year when they ran that really stupid trick play against the Patriots, and just, I don't know.
Oh yeah, that was one of the ultimate head scratchers.
Yeah, mm-hmm. It's great being the butt.
It was out of a punt formation, right?
Yeah, and then it was like they didn't know what to do. It was like, well, I don't know. So yeah,
maybe they should have practiced that one a few more times.
Yeah. No, I would. I mean, there's plenty of other I guess, things to talk about as far as this week's games. We don't have Jack with us, and I was hoping, John, that you could fill in for some of his picks.
Sure.
And we can kind of run through some of the games. I was thinking that maybe I'll have you just pick the games that are, let's say, less than 6.5. So we'll let you pick the harder games for Jack.
All right, sounds fun.
So we're going to go a little unorthodox here and go out of order. Sound good to you, Mike?
Sure. Okay.
First up is so we're skipping around here because we only have John for so long, and I think it's good to get somebody else to pick Jack's games for him while he's gone. The first up is the London game, New York Giants at LA Rams, even though it's in London. So Rust is going to take the Giants. I'm picking the Giants. They're favored by 3. I think they have less of a travel ahead of them, and I think that's going to be the edge going into that.
They're also not coached by Jeff Fisher. Or quarterbacked by Case Keenum, even though he's looked better than Eli at times this year.
The stat line he was putting up on Sunday, I was like looking at the bottom of the screen. It was like Keenum, 25 of 27. And I think he went 13 of 13 in the third quarter. I was like surprised at that. Maybe it was all like 2-yard passes and thinking he was dunking.
He was playing the Lions first off,
right?
And Kenny Britt is out of his mind. He's back, the phenom. Now he's 28 years old, so he's a KG vet, but he can still break big plays. No, it's mostly just the Lions.
Yeah, you did have the Dallas quarterback last year who filled in for Romo was putting up what was it, the highest QB rating ever for a quarterback. Forget his name.
Against the Detroit Lions.
Oh no, for when he was filling in for those games for Romo last year. I forget who it was already.
Oh, yeah, God, it was a cavalcade of mediocrity. So give me the Giants as well.
Okay, I'm putting Jack down for the Giants. Mike, you gonna buck the system here?
No, I'll go Giants.
Okay,
I like that short travel theory.
Okay. Well, I mean, there is that component though that the Giants coach I don't really think has it very much together.
I agree with that. I mean, it's kind of a tough call which one of those guys I have less faith in.
I always see him on the sidelines with Odell Beckham Jr. running his antics, and he just has this look like, what should I do? I don't know.
Yeah, he kind of looks like, with his wardrobe and his bearing, and like, he could be like the middle manager at like a little paper company, like in The Office or something. Like he doesn't have this. I am a football coach. The persona and the fiery eyes. Like, I think that the inmates are kind of running the asylum there a little bit.
Yeah, if you ever listen to Le Batard show, they always have a game they call it like the looks like game, and they have like the most of those for him.
I bet.
They're pretty funny. I'll send
his suits alone. Yeah, great. Thank you. His suits alone are just fantastic.
Next up on this list of close games, one that's near and dear to my heart, it's the Colts at the Titans. Titans are favored by 2.5 points, which I feel is really unfair. Luck's record against the Titans is still pretty stellar, 7 wins, no losses. So I'm of course taking the Colts. Russ is taking the Colts as well. I think this leaves the door open for the people that are in last place. And just to let you know, John, the standings are what is it? I'm at 58. Russ is at 54. Jack is at 52, and Mike is at 48. So Mike's 10 points behind me.
Correct. Good memory there.
Yeah.
Pretty tightly bunched, though.
Yeah, exactly. Jack could make some moves this week, so I can turn it over to you.
Well, give me the home team. Give me the Titans. I think they're just playing better overall, and their defense is not terrible, but at the same time, the Colts can't stop a running back to save their lives, and that's what the Titans do.
Oh, yeah. Watching the Texans gash them the other night, it was just like 9 yards after 9 yards. It's like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has done well against your run defense, unfortunately.
Highlight reel, the Colts this year.
Yeah.
They're the team.
And Mariota's starting to look better the last couple of games. Of course, one of them was against Miami's horrible pass defense, who just lost Rashard Jones for the year.
Right.
But I will go Tennessee here.
Making up some ground as well, Mike. Good call on that. Whenever Russ and I pick together, usually we lose together, as proof last week. Minnesota at Philly. Minnesota's favored by 2.5. They're traveling on the road, though, of course. Both teams have pretty good records. Minnesota, of course, the undefeated team. So I'm going Minnesota, and so is Russ. So that is the clear favorite. I don't know. I know Philly has been in some games, and I picked them last week to beat the Washington Redskins, but that game did not go in my favor. So.
Yeah, I mean they beat the Steelers, and that was a quality win. But they came out of their bye looking pretty flat, and it didn't go well on their run defense side either. And if Matt Jones is going off on you, I think that's a warning sign. I think that there's a little bit of smoke and mirrors going on there, and they just lost their right tackle, Lane Johnson, who has not been replaced by this rookie with the name that I can't pronounce. So I think there's a lot of storm clouds, unfortunately, on the horizon for this wonderful Carson Wentz tale, and I think this is going to be a darker chapter of that story. I think give me the Vikings, and I would have taken a much bigger point spread than that.
Well said, John. Really, you bring the smarts to the show.
Thank you very much. You guys sound quite intelligent as well, I would say. So don't be so hard on yourselves.
We don't have Russ to dumb it down and Jack to muddle it up.
Well, how smart can you be if you're a Chiefs or a Chargers fan? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I think the Chiefs are doing better than Mike and I right now. I mean, our wins. Mike.
Well, yeah, now's around time I start focusing more on fantasy football and less on the Dolphins.
The rite of passage every fall.
We start to root for the high draft pick. You're all right, maybe we get a quarterback this year.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
Maybe I've just been living so comfortably in the glow of the Colts records in the past that I've been able to get by without fantasy. But maybe next year.
Well, it's funny. I mean, that 1 year without Peyton Manning, they're terrible, and it just seemed like manna from heaven. They just get Andrew Luck off the back of one bad year, and everything was going to be golden. And unfortunately, it's fallen apart since that heroic playoff game against the Chiefs, where he just made some ungodly plays and even coaxed Alex Smith out of his shell for one of the best playoff games I've seen in a while.
Oh yeah, that Kansas game.
Much fun.
That was an incredible comeback. And it was great to rub that in Russ's face. So, John, I know we don't have you for much longer. Where else can I know we can't make all of the picks with you on the show, and I might have a pitch relief podcaster to kind of join us. We'll see, nice. Mike, to finish out the picks for Jack. But what can you leave us with as far as words of wisdom, John?
Well, don't make trades like this. This morning, it was last night. Late last night, I wanted Doug Martin because I'm like, he's coming back, and look at this schedule, and I think that without Charles Sims, he's going to get a larger share of the passing game as well as the running back, and they're going to get more conservative because Jameis Winston is stepping on his dick all the time, and it's going to be fantastic. And I'm like, well, I bet I could get Kelvin Benjamin too if I trade Todd Gurley. Yeah. So I trade Todd Gurley and Stephon Diggs for Doug Martin and Kelvin Benjamin. And what happens as soon as I check old Roto World this morning? He's had a setback, and his timetable to return is unknown. So I guess my word of wisdom is when you're trading for guys that you think are coming back from injury, make sure that they're actually back from the injury first. that might be helpful. And I also want to say in the same league, like years ago, Doug Martin's rookie year, I traded him around this time, the week before they played the Raiders. And Doug Martin scored, I believe, 5 touchdowns.
Thursday night game.
Yeah. And I just was like, no, that was against Minnesota, I think. I think it was 2 weeks in a row. He had the Raiders and Minnesota back to back. And the Thursday night game was, I believe, the Vikings. It was a Sunday that he played the Raiders. And he just like ran through us. And I'm sure I got something good back for him. And it wasn't like a terrible deal, but my heart just was devastated. So don't trade for Doug Martin. Don't trade away Doug Martin. If you have Doug Martin, keep him. But that's it, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I got you beat on the injury trade. Last Tuesday, I need help at running back, so I figured, I'll trade Landry and get Ryan Matthews, who's whatever, but he's better than what I had. And I'll take a slight decrease at receiver and take Eric Decker, who is he's coming back. He's good practicing. The next morning, out for the year, torn rotator cuff. But luckily, there was enough managers in the league that vetoed the trade, and I got Landry back.
Oh, good. Well, that's a happy ending. I'm glad that the timing was such that the trade didn't go through. I no such luck over here. But yeah, I mean, you got to be aggressive, but at the same time, usually the best trade is the trade not made.
And just one quick note: how many teams do you have this year?
Is it 15, 10, 16. Yeah, wow. Almost 20, somewhere in that range.
You're like a professional poker player when it comes to this. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely it's an obsession that has hindered my.
You should probably do a podcast about it.
Maybe I will right now, actually. Yeah, Liz is waiting on the other line, so to speak.
Well,
so,
as you leave us, tell our listeners again where they can listen to your podcast and get more fantasy information as far, because we don't cover fantasy as much on this show. We just like to kick back and make our picks, so to speak.
Nice. Yeah. Well, if you're interested in fantasy advice and just general ridiculous banter, join me and Liz Loza of Yahoo on the X's and Y's podcast, Your, His, and Hers Guide to Fantasy Football. You can find it on iTunes or wherever podcasts are sold.
Great.
And if you have questions about who to start every week, definitely tweet John F_Evans.
No, that's not my Twitter handle. I don't know who that is, but don't bother him. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Good to have
Thanks for joining us, John.
My pleasure. See ya.
All right. That was great that John was able to join us, and someone needs to turn down their video feed
or plug in headphones.
But we're joined now by Dan, the Waffle Man.
So I missed that other guy, the Raiders fan.
You did.
Oh, I was gonna give him crap about Super Bowl II, but maybe next time.
Thanks for joining us, Dan. It was kind of an impromptu. You happened to be in the chat earlier, and I texted you to see if you could kind of continue with some of Jack's picks, because I knew John couldn't stay the entire show, and we tend to mosey as we make these picks. If you have our video feed in the background, go ahead and mute it, Dan.
Like I'm wearing headphones, so what do you want me to
do? If the video feed is playing at all on your web browser, it
maybe
will,
like YouTube, like you could
just mute it
or pause it.
Yeah. We've all made that mistake, and Jack did it notoriously on one of our podcasts this season. Actually,
can you hear it? It's in my head. The voice are in my head.
Yeah, only he could hear it. It was quite humorous. So,
Okay. So I'm not sure what exactly I'm supposed to do here.
Oh, and Dead Air is great.
Yeah.
If you like, as Dan, as you kind of mess around with that, we hadn't taken the time earlier to thank our patrons for making this podcast possible. All of the Jay and Jack
/Jay and Jack. I wrote it down this week.
Well, oh, you wrote it down this week?
Yeah.
The YouTube/jayandjack.com. You can watch all of our videos. You can watch us live. You can check out the shows there. Or you can download the show, if need be, from iTunes and rate and review us. But specifically, who makes these podcasts possible?
Eknart, Richter, Gladfelter, Tak in Tokyo, and Brad in Chicago.
Nice. Those three patrons and others help make this podcast possible, as well as web hosting fees. And there's definitely so rate and review us. Go on to jayandjack.com and you can find out more information on all of that stuff. So let's get back to these picks. Dan, I don't know what to do with you.
Yeah, I don't know what you're asking me to do. So
try closing out of the YouTube window. See if
I don't have YouTube open. I'm only open on Google Hangouts.
Oh, maybe it's on Mike's feed. I'm gonna blame Mike now.
Well, we didn't have nothing changed on my part.
Oh, okay.
Let me see.
Yeah, for some reason,
YouTube video paused.
For some reason, there was just an echo still happening. But we're gonna charge on because that is what we do. Speaking of Chargers, Chicago at Green Bay is the Thursday night game. Has nothing to do with the Chargers. That was the first game of the week. I didn't bother John with that because it's Green Bay's favored by 7.5. Dan,
by the way, I'm taking Minnesota in the Minnesota Philly game.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I wrote you down for that. I just kind of assumed. So, Dan, as a local Wisconsinner yourself, I assume you're taking the Cheeseheads?
Yeah, I guess so. But am I picking for Jack?
Yeah, you're picking for Jack.
Okay, so the Packers are probably going to lose because they suck this season. So then if I pick the Packers, then Jack will also lose. So it's the only way I can win here.
So you're picking the Packers then?
Yeah.
Slacker Packers for Jack. All right.
Yep.
Sounds good. Russ was taking the Packers. I'm taking the Packers. I assume Mike is not.
Everybody's trying way too hard for Jack now.
Yeah.
Getting all the right picks here.
Let's make it too easy on him. Should make it harder. Jack's moving up in the rankings, as I said earlier. I think he had the most wins last week with, 9 or 10? So
Jack put a lot of time to his 11-4 picks last week.
Thanks to Nico. Moving on with some of the other easier games to pick. New Orleans Saints at Kansas City. Big surprise there. Russ is taking Kansas City.
Well, Matt, should we have Ed be making the picks for us?
Oh, that would be nice. I should have not bothered him so much. I was literally texting Russ right before we started the show, like, still need your picks, man. But he's moving because that's what Canadians do. They like to move around. You can't trust them.
I mean, you could have some different picks here instead of all the same picks as yours.
That's true. But I'm pretty sure that Russ would haunt me down because he would pick Kansas City. Come on. Right?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think he's going to New Orleans this week. I think he's tired of Kansas City.
Mike, who are you picking?
Kansas City.
So you have no faith in the Saints. I'm picking Kansas City as well. They're favored by 6.5. The Saints, I can't believe that they pulled out that win against Carolina. I don't think they're going to be that good on the road. So, Dan, what do you think? Have you seen either of these teams play this season?
Nope. But I'm thinking that Jack would probably pick the Saints because he likes to feel lucky. He likes to be kind of a crackpot and make wild choices. So I think he'd take the possibility of moving up in the rankings there. So
okay, he's going out on a limb and picking the Saints. I'm marking it down. All right. Mike's gonna love the fact that I invited Dan on.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good solution to the fact that we couldn't have John the entire show. All right. The big money game of the week: Cleveland at Cincinnati. The battle for Ohio rages on. Cincinnati favored by 10. This is in our spread where we not only do we pick the game, but we pick who's going to end up with the points. So will Cincinnati cover? Will Cleveland match that? So Russ chose Cincinnati, and he also chose Cincinnati to cover. Mike, I'm going to move to you next.
Surprisingly, Cincinnati went from a 9-point underdog last week, a 10-point favorite this week.
Whoa.
But I'm going to go Cincinnati to win and then Cleveland to cover.
Wow, and Cleveland to cover. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going with Cincinnati, and I'm picking Cincinnati to cover. I cannot trust Cleveland. I realize this is a division game, and they usually do play each other close, surprisingly enough. But I'm still picking Cincinnati to cover. It's the safe bet. Dan, what's Jack picking this week?
Jack will also pick Cincinnati. I think he doesn't tend to go with Cleveland too often, so.
He does like that city, though, a lot.
Yeah, it just kind of, he's used to it. It's dirty like San Diego, so he's kind of. What else would he do?
It's got the same smell as the San Diego Stadium.
Yeah, I'm kind of naturally against Cleveland because the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is there, and Russ's favorite band didn't get in for like ever, so I just kind of throw all of Cleveland under the bus because of it, because I like Rush.
Oh. Yeah, that's good reason too.
Oh yeah.
So do you think Cleveland will cover the spread? Do you think Cleveland's going to make enough points? So basically Cincinnati is giving 10 points. So if Cincinnati is 24 and Cleveland has 14, Cincinnati would still get the points and win.
Yeah, I don't think Cleveland's going to show up this week. So.
Okay, so you're picking Cincinnati to cover. Okay.
Yeah.
So Mike's the one that's going for the bonus point here. With Cleveland. Still feel comfortable with that?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. This is a close one. Washington at Detroit. Both of these teams, as far as the NFC is concerned, are in it, especially Washington, surprisingly enough. Detroit is favored by 1.5. Russ decided to take Washington. I'm taking Detroit. I'm passing the mic over to Mike.
Nice Beastie Boys reference there. I like that. Detroit's looked pretty good the last 2 weeks, beating Philly and LA, so I'm going to go Detroit here.
I think they have the hot hand. But it's tough to say because Washington hasn't lost a game since the first week.
They have a 4-game win streak. They lost the first 2.
Oh, Washington did.
Giants, Cleveland, Baltimore, and Philly.
Okay. I know we didn't talk about it last week, but there's this thing about Washington about in a presidential year. I don't know if you've ever researched this, but it's kind of an interesting little thing where if Washington wins the last home game, the controlling party maintains control of the White House. If they lose, then the opposing party wins the White House. And it was true for like a really long time up until 2004 with the Kerry Bush election. So, and then it got a little wonky. So But it looks like since Washington won their last home game, which was this past Sunday, that rule looks like it'll uphold this year. That said, Dan.
Well, whenever Jack picks Detroit, they tend to betray him, and he loses even more of his hair. So I think he's going to go Washington.
Okay. Some good rationale there. I like it. Yeah. Dan, would you like to start off the next pick? I usually have you go last here, but I'll have you go first. This is Oakland at Jacksonville. This was the one that I was hoping to have John pick because I figured he'd pick Oakland.
Oh yeah, I'll take the Jaguars. Jaguars. Because I hate the Raiders. I grew up in San Diego. We hate LA, so just what you do. So I'm never going to pick the Raiders.
Jack, how do you feel about the Raiders moving to Vegas?
I don't know. I don't know if I could really get into all the strippers I like to go see there anymore if the Raiders are playing for them. So I don't know what I'd have to do.
Good to know.
Vegas wouldn't be the same without it. I'd have to be really drunk. I mean, drunk.
Huh. Interesting points there, Jack. What about the idea that Oakland could move to Vegas, the Raiders could move to Vegas, and then the Chargers could actually move to Oakland? How do you feel about that?
Well, it's not LA, so it might be okay for me.
Okay. Good assessment there. Russ is taking Oakland, and naturally, I would actually, if we were doing our traditional order, it would go Jack, Russ, and then myself. I'm picking Jacksonville. They're favored by 1. I think Oakland. I think this is a 1:00 game, so they're going to be traveling West Coast to East. So might be in Jacksonville's favor. Mike, you've been
tend to show at that 1:00 time because 10 a.m. So I'm going to go with Jacksonville here.
Well, Mike, you've been on the Jacksonville bandwagon this whole season. Like you picked them to win
that offense has been a little shaky and let me down so far this year.
Yeah.
Bortles hasn't looked that impressive.
Ever since they beat that loser Packers team, they've been really.
They're terrible.
Um,
They're terrible because their state has the worst cheese. It's not like good California cheese, so you can't blame their team for never winning. Oh, I love pancakes. Oh.
It's just like having Jack on the show. This is great. I'll have to remember if Jack ever calls in sick again. So, can you do Russ too? Because we could use it to fill in for Russ sometimes.
Oh, it's the Blue Jays lost. Canada. Oh, I can't handle it. I can't take a boot anymore, they say.
Well, I don't know if he has that big of an accent, but that works. I think
he does, but he always has cheeseburger in his mouth, so it kind of cuts out some of it.
Oh, yeah, the mumbling factor. Totally get it. All right. Moving on as far as games. Buffalo at Miami. Buffalo's favored by 3. Russ took Buffalo. I'm going to pick Buffalo. I just can't trust Miami. I don't know what's with your team, Mike. It seems like
anybody does.
Yeah, I mean, like they beat Pittsburgh. I just feel bad for all of those people that had Pittsburgh as their lock of the week. You know, it's like the Eliminator special or whatever. I mean, you know, just pick against Miami every week and you'd be pretty good. So I assume Miami or Mike, you're taking Miami.
I actually will. Like, they finally have their offense line healthy. They got Albert Tunsil and Pouncey, and it made a difference. And the running game looked better, and Tannehill wasn't getting hit all the time. So I'm gonna go Miami over Buffalo here.
All right, yes. I like
Jack will also pick Miami. He's thinking that it's time that they turn around a little bit. So hopefully they've got their act together.
That sounds like a pick Jack might make. All right, moving right along. Baltimore at the New York Jets. So this game, at least on ESPN, said that it was even. So there's no spread on this game. Technically, if we were going order, I would go first. But since we know Russ's pick, which is the Jets, I will gladly take Baltimore. I don't have any faith in either of these teams. Baltimore has looked weak, just a shadow of what they once were. Flacco's shoulder was injured, I believe, but he's still playing. But I don't know. I don't know how you.
Yeah, he got beat up pretty bad this past week, and he's missed practice so far, but he's supposed to play.
I guess I'd take a beat up Flacco over the Jets. So, and I am.
And now you have Geno Smith coming to the rescue, and they finally gave up on Fitzpatrick. So I will go Baltimore.
Yep, we'll also take Baltimore.
Well, either Russ is going to score a lot on that one, or we're going to make some ground on Russ. Tampa Bay at San Francisco. San Francisco's been one of those teams that every time I pick, they seem to lose, and every time they win, I do not pick them. Tampa Bay is favored for whatever reason. Maybe Vegas just does not believe in the Kaepernick controversy, what have you. I'm taking San Francisco. Russ is taking San Francisco, even though Tampa Bay is favored. I don't know why I picked San Francisco. Again, it's just that team for me this year. Every time I pick them, they lose. So,
well, you can still change your mind.
I could.
This could be your mulligan.
This could be my mulligan. Where I just go again.
This is where you break the Jack in the Box taco in half, or tear it in half, and then just whatever end's bigger, you go with that.
Yeah. You're really talking to me. This is exactly what Jack would do too. He would pose like, well, you don't have to. It's not communist Russia. to quote Clapfelter.
Yeah. The okay Jack Clapfelter. He's just okay.
All right. I'll mix it up. I'll take Tampa Bay. You convinced me, Jack. So Russ is taking Frisco. I'm taking the Teabags. Mike.
It's a battle of bad teams here, and who cares? So I'll go Tampa.
Oh well, I'm a California guy through and through, so I'm gonna go with San Francisco here. As long as it isn't L.A., California's got my back, or I got their back.
Jack, 1 in a million. San Diego at Atlanta. Jack, this is your team. They're on the road. You just saw them win against Denver with a dynamite offense. How do you think they're going to fare in Atlanta?
Well, it's hard to root against my old team, but I don't see them winning 2 in a row. So Atlanta all the way.
Russ is right there with you, Jack. He's taking Atlanta as well. I am too. They're favored by 6.5 points. I just don't see San Diego pulling off the upset on the road. Mike, how about you?
I think for the second or third time tonight, clean sweep.
All right. Sweeping it clean. I think this next one is an easy sweeper. It's New England at Pittsburgh. We know that Roethlisberger is what 4 to 6 weeks is what I just read a little bit ago. New England's favored by 7.5. I hate to pick them, but they are the Super Bowl favorites, still in the commanding lead. Russ is taking them. Guys, anybody taking Pittsburgh?
I really want to hear what Jack has to say about this game.
Well, it doesn't matter what quarterback they got. It's Bill Belichick. You can put in, Ryan Leaf in there, and he's going to be throwing touchdowns left and right. So, I'm going to have to pick New England there.
Wow, this is great. It's a sound bot Jack. I wonder if Jay knows about this. Mike, who are you picking?
Sweep it clean. New England.
Okay, I thought we'd sweep it. All right. Of the 2 last games of the week, the Sunday night game. That's not the bum. But the Sunday night game, which apparently last week's Colts game was like the lowest 5 years, or I don't know. It had some really bad rating. And apparently Roger Goodell addressed this issue of the low ratings, and he said that he doesn't feel that it's over the controversy. or not the flag, but the anthem controversy, the ratings being down. He said that it has to do with a lot of other factors. I know for one that it has affected my dad game. And we need to stick on this issue because it is kind of like a divisive thing to talk about, I think, because some people support it wholeheartedly. Some people are really upset by it, but are kind of in the middle. I thought Dwayne Allen, the player for the Colts, he has always taken a prayer at the end of the anthem. He's always done it since 2012. And since he's been kneeling and doing this prayer, he's been getting a lot of hate on Twitter. And I think it's just interesting to note that, he never had any flack about this until Kaepernick had his protest. And, of course, he's had to kind of field a lot of that hatred. And Dwayne Allen is basically pretty supportive of what Kaepernick is saying. However, he's just frustrated that anybody has to deal with these comments, especially because his prayer is specifically for every player that goes onto the field. So it has nothing to do with. So interesting to know, and just even how of handling the situation. Thought it was worth noting.
Was he praying that Russ and Jack come back for next week's show?
So they're probably.
I don't
talk
think
a lot less.
I don't think that's right. I mean, I'm not as religious as my wife Cindy is, but I just, these guys should be able to just go on the field, do their thing, and I don't think it's right that just because people are mad at Kaepernick, it's just letting everybody come out and just think they can say what they want to everybody. I mean, it's America. You can say what you want. That's what we do. Even back. That's what I learned in school when I wasn't going out and surfing every day. But I just, enough is enough. Just let them say their thing. Good enough.
Okay, yeah, that's well said, Jack. Bot. Mike, I don't think we really, we kind of dance around this issue every week, but it's clearly something that is in the NFL news, whether or not it's affecting the ratings or not.
I don't know. It's you long-suffering Colts fans. You guys just don't have enough morale to watch the games anymore. So that's what's going on. You long-suffering Colts fans.
I think all the Colts fans were like, "Yep, we know how this is going to end." So they've seen it before, but yeah. And who wants to turn into the Colts at the Texans? Mike said it last week, right? You said what was the game that you called would be a better game? I think it was Atlanta at Seattle, and it ended up being a nail-biter close game.
But instead you got Brock Osweiler throwing 3-yard passes all game.
Yeah, right. That was great. And also really like hearing Collinsworth. I mean, he just testing Osweiler the whole time, right? Like the whole time he just kept saying, well, this is where you got to make the money. This is where you got to make the money. And then when it was in the Colts' favor, I mean, it was like, that's why Andrew Luck gets paid the big money. And then all of a sudden Osweiler comes back and it like wins the game. He's like, well, he proved his worth. It's like, really? It was just frustrating to hear. A little bit of Collinsworth goes a long way. So.
Amen.
Let's get to the game. Seattle at Arizona. Is that a car? A motorcycle?
The cat was angry that we hadn't gotten to pick yet.
The cat doesn't like hearing about Collinsworth, so.
That was a cat or a motorcycle. So just to let you know. Seattle at Arizona. Jack, why don't you start us off? Maybe the cat would like to make the pick this week.
Yeah, we'll pick the Cardinals.
Cardinals, okay. I was picking Arizona as well. They are a slight favorite at 1.5. I think I can't remember. Did they play last week? I don't know why.
Who,
Well, I
Arizona
can't
or
remember
Seattle?
if they had a bye or not. Arizona.
Oh, they
I
beat
know
the
Seattle
Jets.
played, but they beat the Jets.
Beat them like
I
31
thought they
to.
had a bye. Yeah.
David Johnson
I'm
went
picking.
crazy.
Yeah, I'm still picking Arizona. I think they're going to play them closer at home, and this is probably like a 1-point game. So
I'll roll the dice and say Seattle wins here.
Mike, all in Sunday Night Football. He's going to be watching it and tweeting about it.
This is where you make big
Follow
money.
us at follow us at 3Star on Twitter. Monday night game. Now I can do the bum, 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 bum. Houston at Denver. Dynamite Houston Texans, better than ever before. It's just smoke and mirrors. Osweiler's returning to Denver to prove.
We have back-to-back
something.
weeks of Osweiler in prime time.
Yeah.
What did we do to deserve
What did we
this?
do to deserve that?
They wonder why the ratings are down.
Mm-hmm. Well, Denver is the favorite. They're the home team. 7.5 points is what they're given. Russ picked them. I'm picking Denver. You don't go into Mile High that easily. Mike?
I will also go Denver.
Yeah, well,
I have a feeling.
yep.
Yeah.
I don't like picking a division rival like Denver, but I don't want to lose either. So it's gonna be Denver.
Well, that'll do it for the picks for this week. Thanks for Dan, the Waffle Man, for subbing in for Jack.
Since
and
we're doing predictions for all the football games, we should do predictions for Sunday night. Does Jack have a prediction of who dies on The Walking Dead?
I don't know what the I don't know what the options are. I bailed out midway through last season because the show's just so freaking stupid. I couldn't take it anymore. So I miss listening to you guys talk about it. The stupid guys are the only intelligent thing about the show for me. But I'm just gonna tell me what the options are, and Jack will guess.
The likely favorites
just pick
are
any
Maggie
main
and Glenn.
character.
Maggie and Glenn are the favorites.
Okay, well,
Those are the two favorites.
I'm gonna pick Glenn because I think they're just dumb enough to do that after what they did last season. I think they're just
After him hiding under the dumpster for a
after
month.
the non-rolling dumpster fire plot. Yes.
Mike, who are you taking?
I'm going with Glenn.
Who do you think?
Glenn
You're
is
going
two-
with Glenn.
Glenn is 2-point
I hope
favorite.
they don't. Glenn's a 2-point favorite. I do not. I hope they don't kill off Maggie. I happen to like her character.
And they'd be killing off a
And
pregnant Maggie.
yeah.
That'd be pretty brutal.
And I think everybody really wants to see a zombie baby at some point. Really, like
Yeah.
what season do we like? The show's been on long enough that you were an adult in maturity to be able to watch that on TV has progressed to a point where we could see a zombie baby, right?
Maybe
Like, are we
Hop out, like-
dissension?
like alien style.
You know, like, oh, what happened? Oh, the just came
Would the
back.
zombie bat
That would be
bring you
really
back to the
disgusting.
show, Dan?
Oh yeah, maybe. But Russ
Maybe.
just texted me back. I asked him about this. He says, "I hope none of the chicks get killed because I like looking at them."
That's a good Russ text. I don't know. I last at the season finale of The Walking Dead on the podcast, but I am going to go with Rick is the one that gets killed. It is
Show's
going
over.
to blow everyone's mind if it's Rick. I'm calling it now. And if I'm right on this, I get like 100 points and a steak dinner. So, thanks,
All I
Jack.
gotta say, AMC's pretty brave since they already renewed for season 8.
Oh, okay. Then strike that comment. I'm going with Daryl.
We did hear a
Crazy
motorcycle
enough to do
earlier.
it. I haven't watched any of the teaser hints or what have you. I'm trying to stay spoiler free. So, but I know that there's stuff out there. So, yeah. So our show. That's pretty much our show for this week, right?
Yeah. It's an hour of suffering for people.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to make you suffer anymore. I do have one crackpot theory for the week, which is that Jack is, if many of you remember, he was writing a show called Pleasure Ranch. And I believe that Pleasure Ranch got picked up, actually Westworld, and that Jack is the creator of the Westworld show. That's it. That's my crackpotiest theory that I can come up with. Jack wrote Pleasure Ranch and is actually Westworld. So it's really meta that he's actually podcasting about it too.
Well, some of the crackpot theories from last week we put on Twitter polls. We had
that's right.
Is Ezekiel Elliott the smoke monster? That came back 100% vote yes. Did the Patriots lose on purpose to the Bills to keep Rex Ryan as coaching the AFC East? That came back yes, 60%. And is Tony Romo secretly the love child of Jerry Jones? That one was split evenly, 50-50.
Oh. 50-50 on that one, huh?
Actually, the real reason Jack isn't here right now, and I probably shouldn't tell anybody except the real loyal listeners that are still listening at this point in the podcast that made it this far, he actually traveled to California to work on a sponsorship deal with Squatty Potty. So he's working on maybe having special Dale editions with ear warmers, and I mean there's going to be all sorts of good stuff. So they're working on a Jane Jack Squatty Potty edition.
Oh shit!
I hope.
Literally.
Well, on that note, I think that is a good place to end it, guys. Thanks for everyone that joined us. Thanks to our special guest, John Evans, as well as Dan the Waffle Man, who made a surprise guest appearance and filling in for Jack. Mike, as always, it's great. I don't know. How do we close out this show again?
Oh, we close out by telling everybody to go to Instagram, mc954. Go follow that account. It's really, really good. Nothing but concert videos and all that good
craft
stuff.
Beer. Lots of craft beer.
Follow Mike on Instagram. You can also follow the Three Stupid Guys on Instagram, as well as Twitter. But anyway, thanks for joining us this week. Great show, guys. 1 in a million, maybe 1.5 million. So very unique show indeed.
Arrivederci.
Goodbye.
See you next week.
All right.